Okay, we're on. Yo, 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 yo. Pronounce it like the letter, don't say it at all. It's your boy S. Got Bars Wrestling Media, along with the dynamic salute, the Southern King, Darkwing Dub. Coming up next, our special guest, Jack O'Hare TV. We about to talk that talk. Coming up next.
This is the Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle Podcast, your home for real pro wrestling talk.
Strength is like powerhouse, dangerous slam, surgical, can't repair once I break every limb. The general, which ring you prefer, I defend, cause the ruler always preys on the food in his hand. I'm telling you fam, my entourage is definitely stacked. Don Callis, I'm related to every wolf in my pack. Diesel like Shaq, I'm always outside for the script. Light it up, we take the rain, no fear in our eyes. Gold on my shoulder, fire in the sky. Hear the crowd get loud, we were born to rise. Bars in the zone, Doug keeps the pace. Otter with the plan, we control the space. This is greatness, nothing less.
You want the best? You're looking at her. This ain't just a sport, it's a lifestyle. Welcome to the Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle Podcast. We are the champions of wrestling talk.
Please stand by.
We back. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell for more content. Our special guest, please introduce yourself.
Jack O'Hara TV, at O'Hara and Friends, ESPN sports play-by-play commentator, podcast host, head producer of the Celebrity Poker Tour in Las Vegas. I appreciate you guys having me on. That was an amazing intro. That was the best intro I've ever had being a guest on a podcast, ever.
Well, you know, what can I say? You know, I'm like the Triple H of Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle. While my man is the head booker, I'm the head of creative. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of run this stable like a real wrestling promotion. You know, but we appreciate it, man. Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, we try to make the guests feel as welcome as possible, the best way we can. Yeah. So that's a lot of accolades that you got. That's a lot of titles. So let's talk about the ESPN one. Like, how did that come about?
So when I told you I grew up in Morristown, New Jersey. Grew up a huge baseball fan initially. Diehard New York Yankee fan. I don't know about you guys, if you're into baseball or not. But grew up listening to the Yankees play-by-play voice, Michael Kay, my whole life. By the time I was like 5 years old, I was kind of dead set. I'm like, I want to be a play-by-play broadcaster when I grow up. This guy's getting paid to call baseball games for a living all year round. That's the only place I ever wanted to be, guys, was Yankee Stadium. Sunday through Monday, I wanted to be in the Bronx. We went to games all the time. I ended up going to journalism school out in Arizona, Grand Canyon University. Got a journalism degree, got reps in 4 years of college baseball, basketball, softball, volleyball, soccer, football, whatever you have it. And was able to parlay that into a freelance deal with ESPN and ESPN Plus to call college baseball games for the past 8 years. So I've been doing that, in relation with other things like podcasting and content creation and interviews and producing things. But play-by-play was my first love, man. I've been doing play-by-play for almost a decade now, and it is the most fun I've ever had in my whole life.
Wow. That is off the chain. Like you mentioned, you speak my language when you talk basketball. I'm a avid hooper. Like I play ball at least 2 to 3 times out of the week. I make sure that it's part of my workout routine to get some hoops in, throw some shots up or whatnot. The only thing I have not did was start a content creating page for basketball. You know what I mean? That one I feel like I will have to really, really put time in, because a lot of these guys that hoop and content create, they even the worst of shape ones, they've been hooping enough to make their content look, at least half decent for people to watch. So I'm saying for myself, like, I'm a perfectionist. If I'm going to get out there and have people watching me play ball, I got to make sure that I'm getting all my shots up. I got to make sure I'm doing A, B, and C, because I don't want to go out there and look like a fool on camera and then have everybody else like, oh, man, this guy sucks. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. No, you definitely don't want that. You definitely don't want that. We just had the NBA Summer League out here in Vegas, and there were just so many NBA slash, I would say, college basketball creators like Nick Knows Ball, who I guess is a big creator out in New York City from Boston. Made some content with him. We did an interview with Contavious Caldwell Pope, and it's awesome. They have it set up to where it's kind of like the Pat McAfee show, where it's like you have your desk, everybody's got their headsets on, and there's hundreds of fans behind you just watching you. And you get to interact with them while you do a live show. Your logo's up on the monitors. I'm going to have to hook you guys up if you ever wanted to come out. Every July in Vegas, they make you feel like a superstar, and you get to interact and interview superstars in the NBA and other NBA journalists.
Wow, that is super, super, super dope. Like we never really dug into that bag as far as like, going outside the realm of, combat sports and going into the realm of like we've talked. No, let me reiterate. My boy Dub talks about all sports, but as far as myself, I never like dug into that realm of talking sports. A few episodes we have talked about basketball and stuff like that, just like who's the greatest of all time, NBA top, I think it was like a top 50 list we did or something like that, and some other stuff. But that's a whole nother bag right there. I definitely would enjoy dabbling in that. I know my boy has knowledge, but I feel like I have a fairly good amount of knowledge as far as basketball, you know what I mean? Especially 90s basketball, being grown up in the 90s, and like that's my style of basketball. So I think that's dope. I think that's really cool.
So he said I talk all sports. So I, growing up, wanted to be Stuart Scott. That was, to me, he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT to me. So I felt like if I wanted to be anything close to even a fraction of what Stuart Scott was, I have to have a lot of knowledge in a lot of things. I mean, he wasn't just smart in basketball. He knew his basketball, football, baseball. He knew his boxing. He knew all combat sports. Like, you have to be well-rounded. So with that being said, give me your Mount Rushmore of play-by-play.
Wow. So Mount Rushmore, I feel like especially in the wrestling realm, it's like, what's your Mount Rushmore of wrestling? And it's like, okay, I have an idea. I'm prepped for that one. I don't think anyone's ever asked me what my Mount Rushmore of play-by-play voices were. Michael Kay, voice of the Yankees. I told you that's like my biggest inspiration. Got the chance to meet him and do some content with him a few years back. It was kind of a full circle moment. He's up there to me as number one, because that's the guy he's the reason why I'm doing this today, right? So Michael Kay is up there. I'm going to stick in the baseball realm. Don Orsillo, play-by-play voice of the San Diego Padres. He was the play-by-play voice of the Boston Red Sox for me growing up. He's just, they call him Hollywood Don. Just, good-looking dude, charismatic, has kind of evolved with the times. A lot of those old-school broadcasters are kind of stuck in their ways. He's kind of evolved, and he's kind of like my generation's favorite broadcaster in baseball now, because he kind of speaks our language a little bit. I'll go Mike Breen, number 3. I mean, bang. Ooh. Just a total, and especially this whole playoff run, getting to listen to him do, call his team, the New York Knicks, on ESPN and watch them win their first NBA title in 53 years. I think he's the measuring stick in the National Basketball Association for broadcasters. So we have Michael Kay, Don Orsillo, Mike Breen, This one might be unpopular, but I've always been a fan of him. I think Joe Buck is going to go down as one of the greatest of all time. He is the definition, and I don't mean this as an insult, he is the definition of a Nepo baby. His father, Jack Buck, is a Hall of Famer in his own right. He got the opportunities that a lot of people probably wouldn't or really had to work to the 10th degree to get. But Joe Buck has proven for 30 plus years that he is that damn good. Joe Buck is one of the best storytellers that there are in sports broadcasting. So I'm going Joe Buck, Michael Kay, Don Orsillo, and Mike Breen.
Why do you think people dislike Joe Buck? I like Joe Buck. I don't like Chris Collinsworth.
Okay. You don't like his laugh and how he completely glazes Patrick Mahomes?
You get it.
I think Joe Buck gets heat for what I just said. He was kind of born into the business and got the opportunities. And because of that, he's gotten to do the Masters. He's gotten to do the World Series, the Super Bowl, every big sporting event that coincided with Fox Sports and now ESPN for 30 plus years. He's gotten that. And now he's the highest paid play-by-play voice of all time with his deal with ESPN. I also think Joe Buck for many years, and I think he's evolved a little bit in this, but for years, he just sounded uninterested in the stuff that he was calling. He sounded very bored and very methodical and very mundane, calling Super Bowl winning field goals, walk-off home runs in the World Series. Like, he just sounded so bored. You know, we will see you tomorrow night. Like, he just had nothing. And I think that changed over the years. I remember when he called the final out of the Cubs winning the World Series for the first time in 108 years. He was pretty excited. I think he's a Cubs fan, but I think he was pretty excited. I just think that people think, here's what I think about anything. When I watch stand-up comedy, when I watch baseball, basketball, football, when I hear people call play-by-play action on these big networks, people don't like people because they think, oh, he got all those opportunities and he's making all that money when I could easily do that. I could easily do stand-up comedy. I'm funny. I could easily do commentating. All I got to do is talk about sports. Dude, you have no idea how difficult it is. The preparation, the amount of reps that you have to get in before people take you seriously, the years, the blood, sweat, and tears that you got to put in. I think people, the average person watches and listens to Joe Buck and might think, I could do that. Why is he getting all those opportunities? Well, it's not as easy as it looks.
And he's also well-rounded. Like, you just named every single thing that he got to call compared to somebody who's just stuck at, I don't know, basketball. You know what I'm saying? He's well-rounded, which to me makes him that much more valuable to whatever network that he's on, because you can trust him to call baseball. You can trust him to call the Masters. I'm sure if he really wanted to put his time into it, he could call an NBA Finals. He could call the Super Bowl. He's just well-rounded.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're talking about the time. Like, I remember listening to somebody, I think it was an interview that somebody was doing with Troy Aikman, and all the practices you have to go to, all the notes you have to take, and all the interviews you have to do with the different players and the coaches just to get all the information, just to get on TV to talk about football for 3 hours in one day. And then you got to do it all over again for the following week. I have 3 kids and a wife. I don't have time for that. You know what I'm saying? But somebody like him does.
I mean, you want something bad enough, you make the time, right? I mean, he's married, he's got kids, and after 30 years of prepping and traveling and doing all of these things, I feel like it becomes clockwork, it becomes second nature, and you know how to balance the two. Maybe not in your first couple years. It might be difficult leaving home and balancing all of that and having FaceTime calls with your kids' teachers and all of that stuff. But I feel like after a while, you kind of adapt to what that schedule is, as well as what home life needs you to be as well. So I'm sure it seems to me on the outside looking in, and you never really know. It seems to me that he balances being at home with his wife and kids pretty well with also the ESPN deal, because the ESPN deal now only has him exclusively doing Monday Night Football during the NFL season. So he's kind of home with his wife and kids now more often than he was previously with Fox Sports.
Right. So do you have wife and kids?
I don't. I am a. One day, I really hope that we get there. I'm 27 years old. I'd like to think I still have my whole life ahead of me. I am in the grind of this career, man. The play-by-play, the podcasting, the content creation, the streaming. I'm trying to build that intentionally. And I hope within the next couple of years, I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm content with where I'm at, and I'd like to start, seriously considering settling down, finding a partner, starting a family, because I do think that's more important than anything I could do on a microphone. Because at the end of the day, that's my passion. I don't know if this is necessarily my purpose full time. But I've been very, very systematic about it. Like I have certain things I want to accomplish before I give my life to that, because as you guys know, that becomes your life. So I definitely want that down the line, but like I said, I feel like I'm young enough to where I still have a few years before I can really dive into that stuff.
It definitely, being a dad and a husband, it definitely takes up a lot of time. This is part of that is reason why we do it as late as we do. I know you're on the West Coast, but me being Central Time Zone, him being Eastern Time Zone, the reason why we typically record as late as we do is because our wife and kids. Like my wife and his wife, they both work overnight, and then we still got kids to get ready for school the next day. We gotta make sure they eat and go to bed at a certain time. And then after working our full-time jobs, we come home. It's like, all right, are we tired or can we record? You know what I'm saying? Like I meant to start out the show like this, but I want to apologize to you ahead of time. I am actually on call for work. So if you hear my phone ring, it's my work calling saying I work in the natural gas industry, so it's somebody calling saying they smell gas somewhere. So, and that's the kind of stuff that, we do on a daily basis where, we have our daily lives. So that's why we do it late.
Yep. And it's all worth it too, because, that's your rock right there, your family. So I'm very big on that. So no worries at all. If you got to take any calls, you got to put food on the table.
That's right. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show, which is professional wrestling, if you could give advice to anybody starting a podcast or wanting to get in your line of work, which is play-by-play, what kind of advice would you give that person?
I don't know if you guys have ever seen Bryan Cranston, Breaking Bad, Seinfeld, just one of the, in my opinion, the most articulate and creative actors of the last 25, 30 years. Doesn't get enough credit. I think Breaking Bad kind of gave him his huge superstardom. He is infamous for telling actors that you don't just try it out. Like if you want to get into play-by-play commentary, if you want to get into podcasting, content creation, you don't just try it, It is what you are, and you have to go 2 feet in head first if you want to have any remote success in this industry. You want to be a play-by-play voice, you got to put in hundreds, if not thousands of games of repetition in order to actually find your voice. It wasn't easy in college seeing that light turn red and it's like you're live, you're on the air, and being like, oh, this is much harder than what people make it out to be, growing up and listening to people on TV. I'm like, okay, Joe Buck's really good at what he does. This is not easy. So you got to get the reps, you got to put in the time, you got to put in the effort. My advice to anyone who figures it out that this is what they want to do when they're young, start right away. Don't wait for college, don't wait for a degree, don't wait till you're older. Start right then and there. If you're 14, 15 years old, you know what you want to do, go to your athletic director and ask if you want to do play-by-play for the team, if the team even has that. If they don't, that's probably a plus. It shows ambition, and maybe you could start up a broadcast program in high school. I would say podcasting and content creation, if you are not 2 feet into this to start and you don't have a vision for what you want it to look like, and you know, don't have much interviewing experience and want to get into it, it is a cesspool out there, fellas. As you guys know, like, anybody can be a content creator. One of my mentors, Chris Van Vliet, tells everybody all the time, the best thing about podcasting is that anybody could start a podcast. And the worst thing about podcasting is that anybody could start a podcast. There's a lot of crappy shows out there, guys. A lot of them. So anybody that wants to get into this, get your reps in, see if you really like it. But as I told you when we first hopped on, this is not something you try out for 6 months to 12 months. You're in it to win it. And if you're not, you're just going to get eaten alive by it, and you're going to be discouraged because it's very difficult day in and day out, doing it for years and not getting the results that you expected. Year in and year out, feeling like people aren't responding to your emails or your DMs. It's a very emotional and bitter process if you let it be one. So you kind of have to weed out all that negative energy and just go 2 feet forward. If you really think that you can make it in this industry, awesome. But you can't quit at it. It's going to take a decade or two before people even recognize what you've done for the last decade or two.
So
he will even tell you, because you're talking about getting your voice and stuff, he will even tell you, when we first started this over a year ago, I was nervous as hell. I was a shy individual by nature. I was like that. And before every show we would get on, he would have to like give me pep talks. And pep talks like, bro, you can do this. You got a voice for this. Like, just go out there and be yourself. Like, it took a few months of pep talks before I finally got it down. I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. And now I feel like the more that I'm doing it, the more natural I feel at it. You know what I'm saying? Am I being too loud? Am I not being loud enough? You know what I'm saying? Am I enunciating my words? Should I just talk like how I would normally talk? Which can be a little brash at times because I did 12 years in the Army. So like sometimes I got to try to take out some of the cuss words I would typically use because of my time in the Army, and then try to replace those words with not so bad words. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. But yeah,
Well, let me ask you that. If that's who you are, let it rip. That's probably my last piece of advice on that question, is that be who you are. Don't be like too brash to the point where you're like, okay, he's a little disrespectful and he's trying to be someone that he's not. But like, you could tell who's trying to be someone that they're not pretty quickly. And it usually happens with people just starting out. You know, if you've never been on camera, you've never had a mic in front of your face, you want to be someone who stands out, and you try to develop this character that just isn't you, you're not going to have fun with it long term, and everybody's going to see right through it too, unless you're like a really good actor, you know. But it's not something that I would recommend. Be yourself, whoever you are. If you think you're going to be good at this long term, eventually people will see that, regardless if you're over the top and brash or if you're monotone like Joe Buck. You know, people want to be entertained, but people also don't want their intelligence insulted, if that makes any sense.
Nah, makes perfectly good sense. So my question is to you. Name your top 5 content creators on either platforms. It could be professional wrestling, it could be just regular sports journalism, or just something in general.
I'll keep it wrestling since, you know, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes, like you said. Like I said, one of my mentors early on in the space was Chris Van Vliet, and I think he's proving that he is the best of the best right now. Kind of one foot in with WWE, getting all of those interviews, you know, and just the utmost consummate professional. You know, who he is in person is who you see on television. He is the exact same person. That's his personality. That's who he is, you know. Just someone, he is the example and the measuring stick of how you should carry yourself as an interviewer, as a host, as a professional television personality. I really resonate, as do a lot of people, with Santiago Zapata, Santi Zap, because like I said, he doesn't try to be someone that he's not. Santi is someone who comes off very relatable, very down to earth, very genuine, blessed to have everything that he has and the success that he's had over the past couple years. It's very unfortunate sometimes watching people who get too much too fast, and you could tell how arrogant they are. He is someone that has kind of popped off in the space very early on, but if anybody's going to get that, it's him, because he's down to earth, he's genuine, he's respectful, and he's relatable, and that's why people listen to him. Who else is really good in this space? I got to give credit to my co-host a lot for wrestling, Mr. Tesh. He's kind of been all around the space over the last 5-6 years. Yeah, and he's got a very controversial reputation. I took that into account when I started doing content with him. And I personally have a great relationship with him. He found me, reached out to me. He's like, love your style, would love to do content. He has been good to me, and I will always be good to him and grateful that he kind of brought me on and took me under his wing. And he'd be the first one to tell you that he's got a controversial reputation. But controversy sometimes, and what's the word I'm looking for? Polarizing, as the kids say in politics today. He's polarizing, so it gets views, right? You got to be a little bit. You got to stand up for yourself. I think he's very good at standing up for himself. He's not a pushover, and that's why I do have a lot of respect for him in that degree. God, there are so many really good content creators out there that have really made a name for themselves, who, for anybody that thinks content creation is easy, like I said, like people who think Joe Buck, it's easy to be a play-by-play commentator. Content creation, you have to be on it every single day. I'll throw ISO Speed in my top 5, because that guy not only is constantly on his phone, constantly, in his chat, engaging with his audience, interacting with the highest level of celebrities that he can, doing all of these different stunts, doing all of these different games, whether it's Randy Orton, whether it's Tom Brady, Logan Paul. For him to do all of that, to be in the shape that he's in to do it, to do a frog splash off the top rope at WrestleMania in Las Vegas this past year at Allegiant Stadium, that dude is working 7 days a week, probably up to 19, 20 hours a day. You got to sleep to be a functioning human being, and I would think that he probably gets 4 to 5 hours maybe a night. But that dude's always working. And the fifth one I'll go, because she just came across my feed before I hopped on with you guys. She's like relatively new in the game in the UFC world, is Nina Drama, and she lives out here in Vegas, and she has just completely blown up in the space in just, I would say, 3 or 4 years. 3 or 4 years ago, she wasn't even in content. And then she just found her niche, and she found the ability to develop relationships with those fighters on a level that no other real journalist, outside of maybe Joe Rogan, outside of DC, who was a fighter in his own right, so he knows the inside information, that no one else has really been able to do. Ariel Helwani hasn't been able to get as close with these fighters as Nina Drama has. And Dana loves her, and she just seems like a very overall positive vibe and a very positive influence on the Ultimate Fighting Championship and their content side of things. So I think those would be my top 5. CVV, Santi Zap, Nina Drama, my guy Steve Teska, and then, of course, ISO Speed.
Real quick. I gotta ask you this. I really do. What are your Because this dude blocked me because I called him out on some BS and he didn't like it and he blocked me. I'm not even lying. If you get on, if I show you my phone, get on X right now and go to his page and say that I'm blocked. What are your thoughts on JD from NY?
So again, growing up in Jersey, I listened to every single quote-unquote loudmouth, hothead type radio style host. Craig Carton was my neighbor growing up, kind of a friend of the family. Hothead on the radio. Grew up listening to the Michael Kay Show, Don LaGreca, Peter Rosenberg, all of these guys, Mike Francesa, just all of these guys who just get on a microphone and they take it way too seriously. JD from New York He's been in my feed. I think I just started following him. I appreciate the passion. I appreciate what he brings to the table because he gets people talking. People are in his comment section engaging on every single reel, every single post. I give him that. I just said the P word describing Teshk. He's polarizing. He invokes emotion out of people, and that's what you got to do as a content creator. You could be a good person. You can't be a nice guy, though. You got to be able to provoke people's emotions. And I'll say that about JD. He does a great job at provoking people's emotions. I don't know him personally, but I definitely respect the game. He's made a name for himself. That is unfortunate that he blocked you, though. What did you say to him?
Oh, it was during SummerSlam, and he was just bitching and complaining the entire time. Like, I believe it was the first match of night one, and I'll be honest with you, I don't remember the first match of night one, but he was just going in. Oh, this show is shit and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, bro, the show just started. There's like 2 more hours of the show left. Why are we already complaining? And then the more he bitched and complained, the more I got in his comments calling him out. Like, stop. If you don't like it, then why are you watching it? And then next thing on night 2, I go back in there and it shows that I'm blocked. I'm like, you jackass.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in there's so many people in this content game on the wrestling side of things that take it way too seriously. Listen, I love wrestling. You guys love wrestling. All of us creators love wrestling. There's more important things in life than pro wrestling. There's more serious things in life than pro wrestling. It is a passion of mine, but I'm not going to let it eat me up on the inside. It's not that serious, right? Like if you wanted Kevin Owens to win the WWE title tonight in Toronto, and he obviously, I don't know if you guys saw the finish. I think Toronto got a WrestleMania level finish tonight in Toronto. I think it was that good. But if you took that seriously and you can't sleep tonight because your guy didn't win and you're pissed off that Sami Zayn costed his best friend the title, like, you're a loser. Come on. Like, it's not that serious. Invest in the story. You guys have wives and kids. That's more important than anything you could be doing with me right now, talking about the art form of professional wrestling. I don't know if that's a character for JD. Maybe it is. Like I said, you have to be polarizing and evoke emotion. But I just don't think it's that serious at the end of the day. I love it. It's a passion, but like, it's wrestling, man. As the kids say, go outside and touch some grass. I keep hearing that. Yeah.
I think as far as his content creating, he's developed a very villainous character on the internet. And I'm not saying I agree with everything that he speaks about but I do feel like at times he touched a lot of valid points as far as pro wrestling. Now he does it in a very strong and vulgar way, but he definitely touches some valid points. Like his whole stitch right now is WWE shit. But you know what I'm saying? And then his whole stitch is AEW shit. And he's calling them both shit. You know what I'm saying? And you can ask him, I usually don't curse, but that's the best way to describe it because that's what he's saying. I'm not saying it, but that's what he's been saying for the last few months or so, especially on AEW. But I think that's what separates him from a lot of the other spaces that I'm going to say this, he speaks his truth. It's not everybody else's truth because you're not entitled to agree with him. He speaks his truth. If his truth is that it sucks, then that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? For him. I know for me, myself, and my bro, like, you know what I mean? There's been a lot of times where we've commented on his feeds and we've just said, like, nah, we disagree. It was this, you know what I mean? But getting back to what I said, he definitely is a villain. He definitely is a villain on the internet, But I guess
he's like the CM Punk of content creators.
That is a very, very, very good example. Yeah, he's definitely the CM Punk of content creators. Let me ask you this. Speaking of, now that we get into the wrestling content, what would you consider your style of content? Like, how do you approach when you're talking about professional wrestling? What is your approach to get everybody talking? Like, do you develop like we just talked about JD? JD develops like a character per se. You know what I mean? To get people riled up. You know what I mean? Like he got the whole he got his coffee on one hand and then he goes you know what I mean? He got his whole little intro. What is it that you do that you know that it's going to touch your viewers and get them talking?
So here's how I look at it. I got into this, like I said, to be a professional commentator, podcast host. I've interviewed over hundreds of public figures and celebrities in all different walks of business. Mm-hmm. I got into content creation at the very beginning so I can one day, way down the road, to develop relationships with the people that I am talking about. So I go about my content. I want to be creative. I love analyzing promos from back in the day, from all the way back in the 80s to all the way in 2026. I love analyzing things. I love sparking debates. I'm fascinated by financial intuition. I love researching and doing deep dives on wrestlers' net worths. And what kind of assets that they own with real estate and some of the stories that they've gotten into, because I find that interesting, and I think that's a specific niche that some people find interest in. It's one of the nerdier ones inside of a nerd fest that is the wrestling content space. But I've always looked at it like, yeah, do you want to play a character? If you're good enough to play a character like JD from New York, go for it. But I also don't think Paul Levesque is looking through his phone and looking at JD from New York necessarily and thinking, that's a guy I want to associate myself with. If I never associate myself with Nick Khan and Paul Levesque's company, no worries. But I'd like to think one day that they would respect or maybe see my stuff along the way and respect it enough to be like, this is the type of voice we would want on our content, on our social media. Cody Rhodes follows me. And if QB1 follows me on social media and likes my stuff and has commented on a few of my posts, I'm going to try to be as professional and non-mark as I possibly can. I don't want to come off as a mark. I want to come off as a remote professional, and that might be difficult. Like I said, this takes maybe a decade or two to really gauge people's interest, to get people to see you the way you see yourself. It just doesn't happen overnight. But that's how I approach my content. I approach it from, I need to be professional. I want to give takes that are very relatable. That's why I think Santi Zapp is arguably the best content creator in the wrestling game, because everything he says, I'm like, yeah, he's right. Like, I don't disagree with most of his takes because he's looking at it from a logical viewpoint. He's not saying something completely out of left field, like, oh, they should have done this. Why did they do this? This was horrible writing. Paul Levesque needs to be taken off the booking team. Like, I don't attack the product that I'm investing all my time into. I want to be able to pour into it so that maybe one day they can pour into me. So that's how I view my content. I want to be creative with different ideas, different debates, analyzing promos, analyzing net worths, superstar interviews. I've had the chance to interview the likes of Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins and Shane McMahon, Nick Aldis, all these different guys, and develop relationships with people to where it's like, okay, he was professional. We'll invite him back. Chris Van Vliet says that all the time. All it takes is one bad interview for people to be like, I don't want to invite that guy back.
Yeah.
Takes 30 years to build a reputation, takes 30 seconds to ruin a reputation. Yeah. So to me, I want to come off as a professional, not just some loudmouth on social media.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely 100% correct. It's like we always tell people, like, we take pride in what we put together, and just like I told you before the show even started, we take pride in making sure that our guests feel comfortable on our show. we don't like to basically be marks or be messy. You know what I'm saying? Or chatty patties. Like, you know, that's not our style. That's not what we do. Like, for the most part, we do like typical conversations, more like you going into a barbershop. Say you going into the barbershop, you getting a shape up, you getting a nice little fade. Okay, we doing the barbershop talk. That's what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? But in a pro wrestling type of way. You know what I mean? So that's what we like to keep, you know, that's what we like to keep on our show. Now, mind you, that we had interviews where people will go off the rails and they'll say some of the wildest, outlandish stuff, you know, and that's okay. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. We ain't going to stop you. But at the same time, too, like, as for us, there's a certain way that we want to conduct ourselves so these people will want to come back, so these people will want to tap us in with other with other people, you know what I mean? And that's basically how we've been doing it for the last year or so. That's how we've been able to tap in, you know, is doing stuff like that, you know. So I definitely agree with you, you know, that's definitely it.
I will say the biggest compliment that I think that we have gotten is from the Elijah Burke and Odyssey Jones have both told us that they enjoyed coming on our show because it felt like that we were just sitting in a backyard with a fire, just having a conversation like normal people. I think that's like the biggest compliment that we've gotten.
That's a huge compliment because bonfire conversations, guys, those are the best conversations. By far and away. I haven't had a good bonfire in a long time. I feel like bonfires are definitely East Coast staples. Like I grew up with a bonfire pit. My dad built this whole bonfire pit with like a fish pond in the corner and all of these different things in our front yard. And we would have bonfires almost damn near every weekend, whether it was 70 degrees in the summer or 20 degrees in a blizzard in December. And those were the best conversations I've had with my dad, my siblings, my friends. You can't beat a bonfire conversation. So that definitely is a good compliment. You should be very prideful in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you ever come out to Oklahoma, I got some good spots for bonfires.
I never had a reason to visit Oklahoma until now. So I'll hold you to it.
Come on, we even go to a Thunder game.
I'll come in season. They're good now too, so.
Absolutely. I'm not even a Thunder fan, but I live in Oklahoma City, so you know, I'm a Mavericks fan myself. But so getting into the meat and potatoes of professional wrestling, what is your thought on the state of professional wrestling, whether if it's WWE, AEW, TNA, MLW, whatever? What is your thoughts on professional wrestling right now?
I mean, we both have platforms where we talk about it, right? So it can't be that bad. I'm not a believer of, like I said, shitting on WWE or AEW or TNA or Ring of Honor or New Japan, reality of wrestling. Like, everybody's a critique of the product. Everybody thinks that they could book it better. Oh, I would have tweaked this. I don't know why they did this. This didn't make any sense. Why? Like, I love the story. You know, like there's been the long debate of professional wrestlers versus sports entertainers. I definitely love sports entertainment more than I love wrestling, guys. If it wasn't for the stories and the storylines, I don't know if I would be as invested. That's why WWE, I'm way more invested in than I am AEW. There's a few guys like Chris Jericho is my favorite wrestler of all time, one of the best storytellers of all time. The guy has reinvented himself more times than David Bowie. But in AEW, he's wrestling a ton of guys who are incredible at what they do in the ring. Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, Okada, Tanahashi, Bryan Danielson, Adam Copeland's on his last leg, and he's telling great stories right now. But the storytelling in AEW is not up to par with where it's at in World Wrestling Entertainment. We just saw tonight CM Punk versus Kevin Owens, a story that was 20 years in the making. 20 years. And to me, That main event tonight was a WrestleMania Night 2 level main event that we got on free TV on the USA Network on Friday Night SmackDown. It was that good, and I wasn't expecting it to be that good. But that's what CM Punk and Kevin Owens gave us. We never thought we would see the match. It lived up to 20 years in the making. I don't think you get that level of praise without the story. If it was just a wrestling match, okay, it's cool, it was entertaining, but like, you're not talking about it the next day. I'm going to be talking about this tomorrow morning with other creators. Like, that was legitimately one of the best matches of the year. We got CM Punk and Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, CM Punk and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania I would put up there. We got, I believe it was El Grande Americano versus El Grande Americano. You got to throw up there as the top 4 matches of the entire year, and we've gotten them all within 4 months. Like, that's saying something. For people that think that TKO is ruining the WWE and that, like, the product's not good anymore and it's stale, you don't know what you're talking about. Be grateful for what you're watching, because we've gone through way worse eras of professional wrestling. Believe me, we have gone through way worse eras of professional wrestling. Whether your cup of tea is WWE, AEW, New Japan, doesn't matter. I feel like we are in an age where wrestling has never been better on all fronts. Wrestling, storytelling, business, merchandise, the stock's way up. I don't understand people who are like, well, my favorite wrestler is not getting booked. Well, maybe your favorite wrestler just isn't on the level that you think he is. I'll ask you guys this. Do you guys think LA Knight deserves a world championship push against Roman Reigns? Do you think he's as good as Roman Reigns? I don't think so. And that's a debate I would always throw out at people, because everybody who's like, LA Knight should leave, he should go to AEW, he's not respected in WWE. It's like, I don't think LA Knight, as good as he is, he's worked his ass off. His story is incredible. He's battled a ton of adversity to get to where he's at. He's a great promo artist, but he's not Roman Reigns. He's not CM Punk. He's not Cody Rhodes. He's not a needle mover like they are.
I think, well, go ahead, Dub. I'll let you give your opinion, then I give mine.
Well, he'll tell you. I've never really thought that LA Knight was no more than a mid-carder, honestly. He's good on promos, like you said, but as far as being up there in the upper echelon of where the main event scene, I don't think he's there. I think his U.S. title run was good. I feel like that's where we're getting top LA Knight. And quite honestly, we got the new guys that are coming in that are better than him. Obafemi, he needs to be where LA Knight is right now. Trick Williams is knocking on that door. Javon Evans is damn good. You know what I'm saying? And then you still got the guys that are coming back, like Big Cass. Like, what are they going to do with him? Like, sooner or later, LA Knight's going to get lost in the shuffle, and they're going to either have to move him back down to the mid-carder, because then the main event scene is going to get crowded, or he's going to be like Ilya Dragunov and be sitting and catering until his contract expires.
Yeah. The other option with LA Knight is that if he does succeed in this whole feud he's got going with the Bloodline and Solo Sikoa being on his side, to me it's like Solo's hotter than LA is at this point. To me it's like go full throttle with Roman and Solo. I'd rather see that right now, which is unfortunate because I do think LA's in a decent spot right now. But to me, if this works out and he still has high stock with the fan base, as crowded as the WWE title scene is on SmackDown, I would move him to SmackDown. CM Punk and LA Knight, I think, could tell a way better, more convincing story than Roman and LA Knight. When you put a title on Roman Reigns, you know you're not taking it off him within the first 6 months of him holding it. So, like, it's just not believable to me that he can beat Roman Reigns. And if that's not believable, why should I invest in the story at all? Where, like, on SmackDown, he could take the title from CM Punk. The promos would be incredible. I'd like to see that. That's a little bit more compelling. But I think Solo Sikoa is in a way better spot to potentially dethrone Roman Reigns than LA Knight ever could be.
And then you still got Jacob Fatu. Like, what is going to happen with him? You saw what happened on Monday night. He's hotter than fish grease too. So there's like so many more opportunities for guys like Solo and Jacob, and you got Obafemi, and now they're trying to rebuild Braun Breaker back up by having him go one-on-one with Obafemi. And there's just, I don't know. I don't see Roman losing the title until WrestleMania, probably to Obafemi, but I mean, that's just my opinion.
I think.
See, look at all these different things that we're talking about right now, guys. Like, for people that say wrestling's not in a good spot, I mean, we got a lot of great stories being told tonight. Just tonight on SmackDown with Punk and Owens and Zayn, Cody Rhodes saying that he's going to end Randy Orton's career and that it's not a prediction, it's a spoiler. What the hell does that mean? You know, like Cody Rhodes and Paul Heyman, like that could be really fun to watch. Cody Rhodes and Paul Heyman have a much deeper history than most people think. Paul Heyman and Dusty Rhodes have a much deeper history than people think. I could get into a heel Cody Rhodes with Paul Heyman long term as we approach the fall and War Games and WrestleMania 43.
Yeah, that is very, very true. He has a long history with the Rhodes family, more than what people think. Especially if you go back to the WCW days when he was carrying the big cell phone. I believe this is just before ECW, or right around the time, like around that timeline. He was Yeah, you definitely right, and that's funny you bring that up. I never thought of that, and then when I thought about it, I remember seeing the video of him and Dusty in WCW, and I remember seeing him in ECW too with Dusty. So you.
And that's the thing, Dusty was in a bad spot. The whole Rhodes family was in a really bad spot. Dusty, Teal, Cody, and Michelle didn't have a lot of money. Paul Heyman gave Dusty his confidence back by bringing him into ECW. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of real personal gratitude there between Cody and Paul Heyman.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me run these feuds by you.
Okay.
Heel Cody with Paul Heyman against CM Punk. That's going to be fun. Ooh. Heel Cody with Paul Heyman against Obafemi, potentially at WrestleMania. That could be a lot of fun if you wanted to hold off on Roman and Oba. And then, of course, a heel Cody with Paul Heyman against Roman Reigns. Talk about the tables turning.
Mm-hmm. The story right there alone. Good night. That would feed families for a while.
Yeah, it's definitely something that nobody really thought about until now, you know what I mean? Meaning that, you know, when Cody mentioned what he mentioned. But yeah, you're absolutely correct about that. I wanted to get back into the LA Knight thing because there's a few things that I might have a little bit of pushback, but not too much. My first thing is, well, in professional wrestling, right, it's all about booking, right? How you being booked, how you promo, how your character build is, and what's going to determine what gravitates to those fans, right? So is it fair to say that it's LA Knight when technically whenever he has gotten on a hot streak, they kind of pulled back on his character and then put him on a shelf for a bit, and he sits back in catering only for him to come back later and build that momentum back up again? I think it's pretty dope that he's still able to keep those fans that were locked in with him from the get-go, because most wrestlers, when you lose that momentum, that's it. Like, there's no turning back. You can't gain back that momentum. So for me personally, I think giving him at least one title run is not a bad deal. You know what I'm saying? Because at least he could say that he has held every major title in every company he's been in. If we go to, he was in NWA. He held a few titles in NWA. We go to TNA. Of course, we all know him as Eli Drake. He's held titles there. He's held the top title. That dummy. Like, that was hilarious. That was hilarious with the puppet coming up on the TV, dummy, to press the button. That was hilarious. You know what I mean? Like I could not stop laughing when he did that, you know? So I feel like we just gotta give him a little bit more grace because like a lot of his journey really wasn't his fault. It just was like either it was poor timing or it was bad booking. Like, come on, how he turned a male modeling gig, a character or whatever, into something that people wanted to watch. When he came into WWE, he was a modeling agency scout or whatever they had his character is, and then he turned it into something totally off the charts. We didn't even think he would do. And he had his own wrestlers, and he put all that over. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, at the end of the day, like I feel like for me personally, I feel like he finds a way to turn these things into gold, regardless if we agree with his run towards the world title. If he gets the world title, now me personally, he's probably not going to win against Roman. He's probably not, you know. But if he does, I'm not going to be mad at that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be mad.
Here's my take on all of that. Right superstar, wrong era.
Right.
Roman Reigns is the world heavyweight champion. You're not going to beat Roman. You look at the SmackDown pool of CM Punk, Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Randy Orton, Gunther, Finn Balor. There's too many top guys vying for those championships right now. Solo Sikoa is lightning in a bottle right now as well. Right. If you took LA Knight's momentum that he has right now and put it in the 2015 to 2019 era of WWE, he'd be a multiple-time world champion.
Right.
LA Knight would be one of the top guys in that era, fighting the likes of Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens. Like that era, LA Knight could have had a real shot to be a multiple-time world champion. This era is just too damn good. When LA Knight got hot a few years ago, Roman Reigns was on the run of a generation, run of a genre as the WWE Undisputed Champion. Mm-hmm. They didn't even have a second title. They brought in the second title. Seth held it for damn near a year. CM Punk then held it for 6 months. Like, it's just not. He's popular. He's got the fans behind him, which is the most important thing. But so do a lot of guys. So does Roman. So does Punk. So does Randy. Despite popular belief, so does Cody. His merchandise sales don't lie. And now Solo's got everybody behind him. So LA Knight, despite being the right person in the right place, he's in the wrong time, unfortunately. I hope he wins a world title at some point before he hangs it up. But I just don't know. Hopefully in these next few weeks, they could tell a story convincing enough that he might win. But I don't know.
No, I agree with you. He definitely is in the wrong era as far as like wrestling. Like I think his type of character would have strived to the utmost highest if he was in the 90s. If LA Knight in the 90s with the way he cuts promos, definitely top tier in my opinion. Definitely is top tier. I think he would have strived in the 90s. So I agree with you on that. Yeah, definitely. One other question. So, talk about Roman, right? The bloodline. So, I'm pretty sure now another bloodline member has entered the fray in Zilla Fatu. I'm going to be honest with you. I've been on high praises for Zilla Fatu. He could tell you I've been preaching this guy's name for some time. The same way I've preached Jacob Fatu's name. And I was telling people about Jacob Fatu years before he even touched WWE soil. I said, this man gets to WWE, it's a done deal. He's going to be champion sooner or later. Done deal. What happened? He got the WWE. They skyrocketed him right into the mainstream scene. What is your thoughts on Zilla Fatu? Do you think he's gonna be the same trailblazer as his cousin Jacob?
It's funny. Every time I think NXT is going to be dead, they find a way to reinvent their whole main event scene. They lost Javon Evans. They lost Oba Femi. They lost Trick Williams. They lost Ricky Saints. They lost everybody. Joe Hendry. And then within a couple of weeks, Grayson Waller cuts the promo of the year. Zilla Fatu debuts, and I don't care what his name is, Cruz Montana. That's Mike Santana in that ring. The fact that those three are in the main event scene right off the bat, it's awesome, right?
Yeah,
it truly is awesome.
Yeah.
Zilla Fatu, I think it was Bobby Roode who said it best. I think he's like every top guy that has potential should go to NXT first just to learn the WWE way. The way that their camera angles are shot, the way the hard cam is positioned in certain moments leading up to the climax of the match, just the overall production of WWE, because it's completely different from every other company. You could have success anywhere else. You come to WWE, it's a different game. It's on a different level. It's a different beast. Zilla Fatu's got the fan base. He's got the credibility. People love Zilla Fatu. Could he be a star? I personally think he's a little bit green. He's a little young in his career. He's got the potential. How many times have we seen people with potential and the fans turn on them? People loved Roman Reigns when he was in the Shield. People don't remember this. People loved Roman Reigns. When Roman Reigns almost eliminated Batista from the 2014 Royal Rumble, everyone was behind Roman Reigns. By the 2015 Royal Rumble, when everybody knew he was getting pushed, everybody hated Roman Reigns. I'm kind of nervous with Oba Femi because to me, he's the clear favorite to win the Rumble in Arizona in 2027. And I fear that by the time they get there, the fans are going to be fatigued with him and that they might have to pivot a little bit. So my thing on Zilla Fatu is that, yeah, he's got the fan base. Everybody loves that he's finally here. He's earned it. He's had one hell of a journey, right? The ups, the downs, the trials, the tribulations. Fans will be behind him for a long time no matter what he does. I think he should be in NXT for a little bit. I remember Solo was in NXT for like 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden, bam, he's in the Bloodline story. During the best era of that Bloodline story. To me, just because he has the last name Fatu and he's a part of a family dynasty, I don't think Zilla Fatu should get thrown into Roman's bloodline anytime soon. Give Zilla the platform to develop his mic work, his WWE in-ring skills in NXT for like the next 6 months at least, before you even throw him in, because you know when he goes to the main roster where he's going. There's no way Zilla Fatu's gonna like go to SmackDown and be his own man. They're gonna find a way to get him into this whole bloodline story with Roman, with Jacob, with the Usos, with Solo. It only makes sense. But I hope Zilla makes a mark in NXT before they eventually throw him into the inevitable bloodline story.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they should bring him up to the main roster right away. I do think though, if he gravitates to everything fast like Solo did, I think they probably would put him up on the main roster if he gravitates to it right away. Only because he has that appeal. He has that same appeal like Jacob Fatu is as far as his energy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he's as great as Jacob Fatu, because Jacob Fatu is one of a kind. Like, I don't think you can find too many Jacob Fatus. Like what he does, like this dude, as big as he is, did what do they call it? What? Not a poetry in motion. What's the move Jeff Hardy does where he runs up to the turnbuckle, flips off the ropes, and he does like a four? It's like almost a 450 into a.
Yeah, like almost a spinal tap.
Yeah.
I don't know what he calls it, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Jacob Fatu did that. Jacob Fatu is like, well, right now he's like in the probably like 285, 290. But the time I seen him do that, he was like over 300 and something pounds. Bruh, you ain't supposed to be doing that.
Nope.
You ain't supposed to be doing that. This is why I said, like, you know, if he taps into what his cousin taps into, Zilla taps into that, it's going to be crazy. Because I don't know what's in the Samoan genes. I don't know, but it seems like every single one of them move like a cruiserweight, and they be over 300 and some pounds. Now, mind you, I know Roman's like probably has the more traditional American pro wrestler type of look and everything, much like The Rock and everything like that. But as far as his cousins and ancestors and before him, whatever, them guys is different.
They are. And on the topic of guys who are 300 pounds doing moves like that, I always got to give credit to Brock Lesnar. I know he didn't do it in the latter stages of his career, but the fact that dude at 310 pounds was doing shooting star presses off the top rope in OVW in developmental, like,
that was crazy, right?
How?
Crazy.
How?
Yeah. Yeah, that was wild. Just to see him do that. Now, he tried it against Kurt Angle. He did try it against Kurt Angle, and he almost decapitated himself. I'm glad he didn't, but
the mere fact that he tried to do it and almost accomplished it is impressive enough.
Yeah, that for real, yeah. Go ahead, Doug.
Speaking of Brock Lesnar, you think he chose the right person to retire him?
Yes, 100%. When you look at the roster, who's going to be the other guy? We knew who the other guy was going to be. It was going to be Gunther. Gunther retired Goldberg and Cena and Styles. It was inevitable that Brock Lesnar versus Gunther was going to be a SummerSlam main event. That's what we all thought. And then I'm sitting in the 100 level section with Mr. Tesh at WrestleMania, and we watch Brock Lesnar take his boots off. And we're thinking to ourselves, like, he's definitely doing this in real time, because there's no way that they weren't going to book him in a box office match in his home state of Minnesota at SummerSlam for his farewell. So we thought we saw the retirement of Brock Lesnar, and I'm like, Brock's just doing whatever the hell Brock wants to do. I mean, Brock Lesnar, if Randy Orton was pissing him off so much 10 years ago, if Brock Lesnar wants to decapitate Randy Orton and make him bleed all over the ring in Brooklyn, for real, he's going to do it. Who's going to stop him? Who's going to stop Brock? Who's going to tell Brock Lesnar, no, you can't retire now? That's not a part of the story. Who's going to get in Brock's face and tell Brock Lesnar no? Brock Lesnar can do whatever he wants to do. In that moment, we all thought he retired. And in that moment, that would have been perfect. Because immediately, Brock's a babyface. Everybody's crying for Brock Lesnar. Brock and Heyman are crying in the ring. It was the perfect goodbye. And it elevated Obafemi to a level of superstardom that we haven't seen since Brock Lesnar in 2002, in my opinion. He was the perfect guy to give that rub to. And then SummerSlam was even better. Hell in a Cell, Tombstone on the Pine, Oba kicks out and hops up like Hulk Hogan, and then hits him with the fall from grace. Brock Lesnar getting on the mic and saying, I'm the past, this is the future. Brock Lesnar didn't have to do that. Brock Lesnar's never done that. And I'm happy that Obafemi didn't just retire Brock Lesnar once. He retired him twice in a span of 4 months. And now Obafemi gets to continue that legacy and take that level of influence that he has now and bestow it on a guy that needs it, like Braun Breaker, to carry him for the next 20 years. Probably going to face off against Roman at some point down the line, whether it's at this year's WrestleMania or the following. Oba versus heel Cody, we talked about, as a feud that they could go with. There's so many great Obafemi stories that you could tell, and he's already a guy that could sell out a 100,000 seat stadium in his first year on the main roster. This time last year, Obafemi wasn't on anybody's radar to be a WrestleMania main event already. And here he is. So, yes, I do think Brock made the right decision. I think almost everybody thought it was going to be Gunther, and Brock's like, well, what about this kid?
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I don't think you guys may think differently than me, but that's okay. I don't think the Hell in a Cell match was the best. I feel like it could have been better. But then again, this is one of the things that I put on one of JD's posts on X is that Brock Lesnar is pushing 50 years old. If you think Brock Lesnar is going to get in Hell in a Cell and do some crazy shit in that ring, in that cell, you're kidding yourself. And to me, it wasn't even about the match. It was about the fact, you know how for years and years and years, Brock got to say, I am the one in 21-1. And the kind of heat that gave Brock Lesnar. Now imagine Obafemi saying Brock Lesnar was undefeated at Hell in a Cell until he came across me. The amount of push, the rub that Oba gets from just saying that alone, it's bar none the best thing that could happen to him. And I don't think people really understood that. They just wanted to see Brock and Oba get in there and beat the shit out of each other. But Brock is 50 fucking years old. I don't know what made you think that he was going to go in there and just start doing that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? It was about giving the rub to the young guy to say that he is the future of this company, and it's coming from the past future, the now past, Brock Lesnar, probably the baddest person that ever graced a WWE ring.
20-year age difference, too. For Oba to get that opportunity is insane to me. And yeah, was it the greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time? No, but it lived up to what the first two matches were, and it had an insane spot with the tombstone. I don't think anybody could have predicted that. That was insane. If I'm going to be a wrestling fan and a mark to critique a certain thing, I think Obafemi probably should have hit that fall from grace on the pine. I think that's what they set it up. You saw out of the corner of Brock's eye as soon as he got hit, he kind of looked at the pine and was like, fuck, we should have hit it on the pine. But it served its purpose. Nobody walked out of US Bank Stadium that day and thought, man, I didn't get my money's worth. No, that was a great night one. You got Punk versus Cody in what some people consider a wrestling classic with Randy Orton returning. And then you got that Hell in a Cell main event. It was awesome. SummerSlam, in my opinion, I don't know about you guys, I think SummerSlam overall as a PLE is much better than WrestleMania.
I agree. I definitely agree with that one.
WrestleMania is the culmination of a lot of things, and then SummerSlam is like the rebirth of a lot of stories. Like, you leave SummerSlam way more excited than when you leave WrestleMania. You're like, all right, new season. What's going to give? Like, you know what you're getting with SummerSlam. After SummerSlam, you're like, Punk versus Owens is going to happen. Last year was the heist of the century. What the hell is going to happen after that? Brock Lesnar returned last year. What the hell's going to happen after that? We're like, WrestleMania, it's like you walked away this year being like, all right, I'm satisfied with the way it ended, but we don't know what's next. So I think SummerSlam is better than Mania.
I definitely agree with that. And I think the only thing I would take over SummerSlam when it comes to WrestleMania is I understand the story that was told between Roman and Seth, but it's just something about Punk and Roman that's just like an instant classic for me. And I'm going to say this. Since Punk has been back in WWE, I think this version of Punk and the matches that he's been put on week in and week out, PLE after PLE, starting with Drew McIntyre, I think it's rivaling, if not just a notch better than his first run with the WWE. Call me crazy.
Yeah. No, I'm going to double down on that. I'll piggyback off of you. You needed the first run. You needed the friction that he had with Vince McMahon and the 9 to 10 year layoff for him to come back, having that brief stint in AEW that resulted in him getting fired and making fans think, I don't know about you guys, but I thought like, oh my God, WWE was the good guys in the whole situation. CM Punk is difficult to work with. CM Punk is an asshole. He's everything that they said that he was. But then he came back to WWE and you were all excited. You're like, what's going to give? Half the locker room legitimately has animosity with him. He has had the best 3-year stretch that anyone his age should have. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, we're still talking about it today. That whole trilogy was incredible. CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, in my opinion, there's still so much meat left on that bone. Yep. They could fight forever. CM Punk versus Roman Reigns, probably the best one-on-one clean main event of WrestleMania that we've seen in the last decade. And now CM Punk versus Kevin Owens, what we saw tonight. We got to see CM Punk versus AJ Styles once. I wish we got to see more of that, but we got to see it once before AJ retired. CM Punk versus Sami Zayn on July 6th was awesome. CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam was awesome. I hope we see more of CM Punk. After tonight, I can't help but think that it's going to be Punk, KO, and Sami Zayn in a triple threat moving forward. I hope we see CM Punk versus Randy Orton. For anybody that thinks that isn't a fresh feud, that they haven't feuded in over 16 years, and when they did, that was like Nexus CM Punk. It wasn't even the good CM Punk. So, like, I want to see that rivalry get renewed a little bit. CM Punk is truly the best wrestler on that roster right now. He's not just the best in the world because it's his signature. He truly is on a run of a lifetime. I agree.
Yeah, and don't forget that the classic that he put on with Finn Balor, too. Not once, but twice.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Who else? I mean, we're definitely missing a ton more. He is the old Braun Breaker. He had a great championship match on Raw. He's been a great world champion. Even his match with Jey Uso when he won the title was awesome. You know, he's wrestled everybody. Like, are there any, like, true... I mean, CM Punk versus Gunther at SummerSlam, I'd put up there as one of the matches of the year in 2025 as well. God, I mean, we could talk for hours about his whole run from 2023 to 2026. I mean, his first 9 months back in WWE, he had a torn tricep. And his story on television week in and week out was still the most interesting out of every story. That is a hard thing to do.
Yeah,
especially what he was doing with Drew McIntyre.
That move was Whisper in the Wind. That was the name of the
Whisper
movie.
in the Wind. You're right. You're right.
Whisper in the Wind.
You're right.
Yeah, Whisper in the Wind. It just came to me as soon as after we did that question, then it just popped in my head. Was Whisper in the Wind. Yeah. Go ahead,
so let's do this. So we've gotten in more of today's WWE, and it's safe to say that WWE is more your jam than an AEW. But do you have any thoughts on AEW and what you're seeing going towards their quote unquote their WrestleMania at All In?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not like a diehard AEW guy, but I appreciate AEW. I've been to multiple AEW shows. I was at the first ever AEW show at Daly's Place in Jacksonville in 2019. I got to see Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes take on the Young Bucks in an unbelievable tag team match. Like I said, I'm a huge Chris Jericho guy, probably my favorite wrestler of all time, Chris Jericho. All In has never really disappointed. I think All In was arguably the event of the year in 2025 in Dallas, Texas last year at the Texas Rangers ballpark. I thought that main event between Hangman and Jon Moxley was just top tier. I hope Bryan Danielson comes back at All In again. Last year, him coming back in the mask was awesome. He was great on commentary there for a few months. We haven't seen him in a while. I hope to see him back. Who knows? Chris Jericho, again, is back putting on classics with Ricochet. He took a bump on the steel steps about a month ago at the beach show that they had. And I'm thinking to myself, this dude just took a year and a half off. He's in his late 50s. He's touring with Fozzy half the year. This dude doesn't have to be doing stuff like this. And he's still doing it at a high level. AEW... is at its peak right now when it comes to wrestling, just like WWE is at its peak right now when it comes to storytelling and the amount of depth that they have on that roster. Kenny Omega just beat MJF for the world title. I think Kenny Omega is a WrestleMania main event caliber superstar that we will never see in a WrestleMania main event, right? Him and MJF, in my opinion, are the last two guys that are superstars without having to ever step foot in a WWE arena. Just like AJ Styles was a wrestling Hall of Famer before he ever stepped foot in a WWE arena, and then he became a WWE Hall of Famer, which is a separate conversation. That in itself is so impressive to me. But like Kenny Omega, MJF, Hangman Adam Page, man, I wish Adam Cole never got hurt, because he was an awesome storyteller and an awesome wrestler in his own right. There were just so many stories left to tell with him too. Him and MJF for almost 2 years told a great story as rivals, and then as best friends and as rivals again. I mean, he turned MJF face. Whoever thought MJF was going to be a face? But they have the best wrestling in the world. Like I said, Adam Copeland is probably a top 5 wrestler for me as well. He's getting his farewell, getting to go to Mexico City to wrestle. He's getting to wrestle in Quebec for local independent scenes too. Like, he's getting to like do full circle things that WWE would never allow him to do. Christian Cage has probably had his best moments in his career, I would say, in the last couple of years in AEW. So I feel like they got a lot going on. They have a lot of ex-WWE guys too, for all the WWE marks that are anti-AEW. It's like, you have all of our talent. Like, who cares? They reinvented themselves. They're awesome. Like, to me, Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson a few years back, they had that one-on-one match in New York, I believe in, was it 2022 or 20, maybe even, it was 2021. Jeez, that was 5 years ago. It was 5 years ago. Time flies. But that was arguably the best AEW match I had seen up until maybe the main event of All In last year. So from a wrestling standpoint, I couldn't tell you what the storylines are. I'm not that invested in it, but they put on some wrestling clinics. To me, Darby Allin and Sting, their whole tag team run was awesome. Darby Allin, I think, needs to lay off some of the glass shattering bumps, but he's entertaining, that's for sure.
Go ahead.
I wanted to say two things I wanted to say. So so speaking of AEW, right? We got two guys that we could be seeing in AEW real soon. We all know the rumors are true. We talking about the New Day. So
New Day?
Yeah. So my question to you is, what do you think of the pairing that we could be possibly getting for the New Day with Swerve Strickland?
Ooh. I mean, it's a match made in heaven. Their personalities mesh. I feel bad for Big E. He's got to watch that from a distance all the way at the commentary desk. I'll believe it when I see it. Their relationship with WWE obviously was a financial one, it seems like. You know, we can only speculate as creators online, but it seems like they were asked to cut their contracts or their salaries in half. I think TKO is asking a lot of talent to do that, and that's just pure speculation. I don't know shit. But to me, for guys that put blood, sweat, and tears and 15 to 20 years worth of sacrifice into WWE, Kofi Kingston specifically putting that much time into it and getting treated like that, I'd feel incredibly, incredibly disrespected too. So Absolutely. Good for them for knowing their worth, knowing their value, and moving on. Now, if they go to AEW, dude, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods can reinvent themselves in a way that I don't think we even knew was possible or imaginable. I mean, them as the New Day, Bootios, 15-time WWE Tag Team Champions. I don't necessarily want to talk about their heel run in their last year in WWE. Could have been better, in my opinion. not necessarily their fault. It's hard to turn. It's like John Cena's heel turn. It's like you just turned a very lovable character during their entire stint and turned them into like boring bad guys. It just didn't necessarily work. They tried to be charismatic with it. They added Grayson Waller. It could have been better. But who's to say that they can't turn it to 10.0 in AEW if they were heels? Who's to say that Tony Khan won't let them be as brutal as they possibly can be on a level that WWE just wouldn't allow? Or maybe they come back as a version as what we were used to seeing with the happy-go-lucky New Day, and they're streaming live and playing up, down, down live in an AEW ring. I don't know. I just think they're going to be able to be a lot more creative. And to your point, I think them being in a trio with Swerve Strickland is a match made in heaven. I think those three could have a lot of fun together. And Swerve has a ton of relationships with guys in all over the pro wrestling business. Like Swerve Strickland was out partying in Vegas a few nights before WrestleMania, hanging out with Javon Evans and a few WWE guys. So it's like him, Kofi, and Xavier have probably known each other a very long time. There's probably great off-camera chemistry there. I can't wait to see, but again, that's all speculation until it happens. We've seen a lot of top WWE guys go over. Jericho, I never thought Edge would leave WWE and go to AEW. I really didn't even consider that to be a possibility. And now he's like Mr. AEW. CM Punk. I mean, Cody Rhodes. So I'll believe it when I see it, but I think there's a lot of meat on that bone if they do go to AEW.
Claudio.
Can we talk about Claudio Castagnoli's career and how disappointing it's been?
Listen, so people shit on his run in WWE. I honestly think that his run in WWE was fairly decent. I think he's going to AEW. He's going to AEW and he's taking a shit ton, and I mean a shit ton of losses. And I don't think that that's fair to him. I mean, he left WWE after wrestling Roman Reigns for the championship. You literally wrestled for the championship, and then you go to AEW. You're getting put in all these different factions. You're not really getting a run by yourself. You're getting put in all these factions, and you're taking losses. I wish they could have found a way to keep him in the WWE. I honestly wish, I understand he got hurt. He hurt his neck and had to have neck surgery and all this stuff. I wish they could have found a way to keep him with Sheamus, because the Bar, I absolutely love the Bar.
A tag team you never thought would gel as well as they did. I always tell people, go watch Sheamus versus Cesaro in all 7 matches that they had in that best of 7 series that Mick Foley put them in. That is top tier wrestling. Brute strength, physicality at its best. And then the Bar, for, I think they were a tag team for like 4 years, were incredible. They were awesome. John Cena said it all the time. I could have main evented multiple WrestleManias with Cesaro. He was that damn good. And just so many missed opportunities with him when he was hot. The Cesaro section ran roughshod over the WWE Universe in 2016, 2017. His matches with John Cena, his matches with Kevin Owens, his matches with Sheamus. Cesaro deserved a lot better. I mean, Cesaro versus Brock Lesnar could have been a SummerSlam main event. They just didn't book him correctly. They paired him with Paul Heyman for like a month, and then they gave up on it. I just think Cesaro, he could have been a WrestleMania main event, a multi-WrestleMania main eventer. And you're right, he goes to AEW. And granted, I think he's a guy that is very grateful for the position that he's in, and he's having so much fun with all of his friends. Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, all of these guys in this faction together, they're all, I mean, those 3 right there are the top, some of the top wrestlers in the world from an in-ring technical standpoint. So I think he's had a lot of fun, but it's just like, what's it going to take for this guy to get to the, like, what's he missing? I don't know what he's missing. He can speak 7 different languages. You could pair him with a great manager. He's bar none, one of the best in-ring talents that the pro wrestling industry has ever seen. So what's missing? And it's frustrating because I feel like his prime is definitely past too.
So with that being said, I understand he's older also, and he's coming off major neck surgery. Do you think Sheamus joins them over there and teams back up and joins the Death Riders?
Yeah, Stephen Fairley is a free agent, right? I don't know if he's like
Yeah,
officially a free agent, but he's not re-signing. That's for sure. He's gonna ride out his
correct.
contract like Dragunov did. Yeah, I don't think we've seen the last of him in the squared circle, whether that's AEW or elsewhere. I feel like that truly is the only other big option, unless you wanted to go to a New Japan. But I feel like if you want to get recognition and get all of those endorsement deals and be with another big wrestling company, Claudio's over there, Moxley's over there, Jericho's over there, Copeland's over there. Like, a lot of his friends are over there. So S. Fairley and Claudio Castagnoli reuniting to take on Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods and the Young Bucks in AEW. Sign me up. Sign me up.
Hey, I'm with it. It sounds fun when you think about it, but then again, you're in the content creating. You hear all the stuff that fans are saying. At what point do you say, okay, all this talent is getting either released from the WWE or they're not re-signing or whatever the case may be, they're free agents. At what point do you be like, okay, we got to stop signing these because we have a bunch of other talent and they're not being shown on TV right now. For instance, Tommaso Ciampa just had have feud with Chris Jericho, but we haven't seen him since that feud ended. So it's like you keep signing all these people, but then you're pushing the people that you recently just signed back down the card. Tommaso Ciampa is basically going back to where he was at WWE.
Yeah, it's they might say it's a good problem to have all of that talent and all of these different ways you can book people, but like you even see it in WWE today, whether it's Dragunov, whether it's Sheamus, whether it's the New Day. How do you book these guys when the depth on the roster is so freaking deep? Like, I prefer it this way than it was 10 years ago. Trust me, when John Laurinaitis was main eventing pay-per-views with John Cena, the roster wasn't good. Like, I'd rather it be like this. I'd rather it be deep. I'd rather have everybody competing for their opportunities. I don't know how much backstage politics there are in AEW compared to WWE, but it is a business, It's like anything else in life. Just because you have all the talent and people like you doesn't necessarily equal main event status or all the success in the world that you want. There's politics in business. There's politics in life. There's times where the timing matches up for you. There's times where you're ready to go, but the timing doesn't match up for you. It's what makes the best stories that much better. Like the stories of Bryan Danielson, the stories of Kofi Kingston, the stories of Cody Rhodes, where it's just like, all right, timing, it didn't time up for you initially when you thought it was, but you worked your ass off and eventually got to where you wanted to be. Kevin Steen turning into Kevin Owens in WWE and getting his big break against John Cena, probably a decade after the fact that he thought he deserved it. CM Punk leaving for a decade and coming back and going on a run of a lifetime. We never thought we would see it. Timing doesn't always match up for guys like Tommaso Ciampa, who have all the in-ring skills and the fans behind you. But there might be stronger plans. There might be an S. Fairley on coming on the scene that's going to be inserted in the main event with a Kenny Omega or an MJF. Chris Jericho took a whole year off, and he's immediately back in the main event scene in AEW. So it's like, it's just hard to sit back as a creator and a fan of the product, because at the end of the day, whether you want to call yourself a creator, at the end of the day, we are fans of the product.
Absolutely.
It's hard for us to gauge how the creative teams, the booking teams, Paul Levesque, Nick Khan, even Tony Khan on the other side, it's hard for me to really depict how you're able to book stuff on a daily basis to gauge people's interests and at the same time be fair to the talent that you're paying. Because at the end of the day, whether they're booked in the main event or whether they're not booked on TV at all, they're still getting paid. It's guaranteed money. And at the end of the day, if you're a professional, that's all you're looking at. You're feeding your families, you're feeding your kids, you're feeding yourselves if you don't have kids. Like, at the end of the day, how bitter can you be about the spot that you're in when you're making all of that guaranteed money? It's not like it was back in the day where if you were in the main event, you were the ones making the money. And if you were on the card, you were getting a sliver of that. I feel like everybody's got guaranteed salaries now, wherever they're at on the card. So that's kind of how I would look at it personally. But who knows how they go about booking things on a daily basis? We have no idea. It goes back to my earlier debate of just enjoy the show. Wrestling's not that serious. It really isn't that serious. And for wrestlers as well that feel like they need to be in the main event scene and be the WWE or AEW world champion, it's like, appreciate that you have a guaranteed, probably 6-figure contract to live out your dream that you've worked your ass off for your whole life. That's the way I look at it.
As we start to wind down, what are your thoughts on WWE Unreal?
It's entertaining. I truly think that they are giving us a dog and pony show of what it's really like. I think they're displaying what it could be like behind the scenes, but it's not actually what's going on behind the scenes. Yeah. I truly think they're kayfabing behind the scenes stuff for the most part. I mean, maybe some of it's real. And it is entertaining as hell. Like, it's very, like, you get to depict that and be like, huh. Like, dissecting what it's like to be in gorilla position. Dissecting what it's like for Paul Levesque to get in the ear of Abyss or Nick Aldis or Adam Pearce or Jamie Noble when shit's hitting the fan. Like the Elimination Chamber door wouldn't open. Like, we got to fix that, guys. Go, 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 go. Like, I thought that was real. Like, little nuances like that from a production standpoint, I find fascinating as a guy in production. But I also feel like the conversations that you see of them at HQ being like, oh, should we push Chelsea Green? Who should win the Rumble? Should it be Punk? Should it be Jey Uso? Should we put a rocket on his ass? I think that's a little bit fabricated. I don't think we're getting all of the meat that's on that bone. But I love, like, every time it comes out, I know I'm sitting down for 3 hours and I'm binge watching that whole son of a bitch, you know? Like, it's entertaining. AJ Lee's return, too. Like, I felt like we got a lot of realism in that, of her signing the contract and everything and being nervous. Punk was nervous backstage for her. I felt that was kind of real. It's entertaining. I enjoy it. I'm happy that we get to witness that on Netflix. I understand the realists in the wrestling world that don't like the show, like the Paul Heymans, like the CM Punks, like the Roman Reigns, who I don't think has appeared on Unreal once yet. But it's fascinating. You get to dissect how they tell stories. John Cena said it best. If your why isn't there, people won't be invested. Why are we telling this story? Why are these two wrestlers fighting each other? Why are they wrestling in the main event? I find that so fascinating how they're able to put together little pieces. Like when they were telling the story of Paul Levesque called Bruce Pritchard about the John Cena heel, or Bruce Pritchard, I think, was the one that initially was like, what if we don't turn Cody? What if we turn Cena? Paul Levesque called The Rock. The Rock called Ari Emanuel. Ari Emanuel called Mark Shapiro. Shapiro called Nick Khan. Rock called Cena. Paul Levesque, like, they're all on the phone together being like, how is this going to work leading up to the Elimination Chamber? That I found fascinating. And I thought that was very real. So there's aspects to it where I'm like, this is so fascinating, and they're making a lot of money off of it. That's why they're doing it. Don't get it twisted. But I also think some of it is definitely like, oh, wow, we think we're seeing what's behind the scenes, but I don't think we're really seeing everything behind the scenes. And I think they tell you that. They're giving you a little appetizer of what's behind the scenes, but not everything.
So, if there's one wrestler right now that you personally would like to see more of on TV, doesn't matter the promotion, who would that be?
Like I said, I am a sports entertaining enthusiast. I enjoy the best stories that are in front of me. I look at guys like Sami Zayn, and a lot of people don't think he's a quote-unquote long-term main event superstar. I completely disagree. I think we are currently seeing the best version of Sami Zayn, and I wish he would have had the WWE title a little bit longer. I still wish he was the WWE champion, and they gave him more than 9 days to prove that he deserved to be in that top spot. I really, really think WWE is on the cusp of really ruining Finn Balor's whole run in WWE. I think he's still young enough to where he could still go. I think he's still young enough to where they can make up for it. But he's not that young anymore. The whole Judgment Day thing, it was a nice little niche for him to be in, but it lasted too long. It was a 5-year run with the Judgment Day. Even his feud with Edge inside Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania 39, it felt like he was just a guy in a faction and not Finn Balor, Prince Devitt, the Demon King. Like, it just felt like a guy in a faction facing the guy that started the faction. That's what that whole feud felt like. He had the I Quit match at Extreme Rules, which was awesome too. But he was hiding behind the Judgment Day, so I didn't love that. Him having that shoulder torn labrum injury against Seth Rollins at SummerSlam 10 years ago, I think ruined the trajectory of his whole career, unfortunately. And you could always go back and dissect what could have been, but I don't live in a world of what could have been, boys. The world that we live in, and the reality is that Finn Balor, the Finn Balor that we wanted, just, he didn't get that full opportunity to be a world champion in WWE. I'd love to see him get a WWE championship run. Let's say Kevin Owens eventually wins the WWE title. Kevin Owens versus Finn Balor, that's a fresh feud. That is a fresh feud between two guys that know how to work each other. They've known how to work each other for decades. I would love to see that. Finn Balor, I would like to see him more on the top of the card. He's just in backstage segments on SmackDown right now. And again, the roster is so deep, it's not necessarily his fault. But Finn Balor, if I had to pick one, Finn Balor is the guy I'd like to see on top. I love Gunther. Like I said, I love Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens is back. I want him to be in the main event scene as long as he is wrestling. He even said it himself. He might only have a year and a half, 2 years left, depending on his neck injury. We don't know how much time he has left because he's going full throttle. He is not half-assing it whatsoever. He's not going to be careful, like he told his family. He's going 2 feet in, head first, flips off the top rope, swantons off the top rope. That's the Kevin Owens that we've seen. That is the Kevin Owens that we will always see. So if I had to pick one, I'm picking Balor, the true NXT guys, the black and gold. I want Balor, I want Owens, and I want Zayn at the top of that card at some point.
You know who you're missing? I am sick and tired of freaking seeing Johnny Gargano laying on that damn cart. I want Johnny Gargano in a damn ring. Give me Johnny wrestling. Give me Johnny wrestling.
You know, the problem with Johnny Gargano is that as great as he was in NXT, as great as he was with DIY and Tommaso Ciampa, that whole heel turn was like the best story in NXT when that happened. He hasn't translated to the main roster. I don't think Johnny Gargano's had like one really distinct defining moment on the main roster, which is unfortunate because he is a phenomenal wrestler. But it just hasn't translated to the storytelling. Like Johnny Gargano would be a great AEW superstar, would fit in great over there. I'm with you. I think they're dragging this whole bum thing on too long. I don't understand why they're still doing it. I don't understand. Like, I think he was on NXT for a one-off a few months back, and he won a match just by, like, rolling over Miles Bourne. And it's just like, why didn't that break him out of his slump? Why is he still in this funk? Why is he just, like, completely dead? Why isn't Sami Zayn, why isn't he involved more with Sami Zayn's stuff? I feel like this would be a perfect way to insert Johnny Gargano back into a scene and just throw him into the deep end. Throw him into a feud with Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and CM Punk. Why not? Try it out. We are in a season of WWE where it's kind of like we're a few months away from War Games. That's the 4th biggest pay-per-view of the year. We're still 6 months out from Royal Rumble. We're still 9 months out from Mania. This is the time to try things. Throw stuff at the wall. See what sticks. Throw Johnny Gargano on that main event wall. See if he sticks.
I am with you there because he had a hell of a match. It was I believe it was Stand and Deliver, NXT Stand and Deliver, where he went in there and had an excellent match with Miles Bourne. So, like you said, you would have thought that would have broke him out of his slump, but no, he goes right back over to SmackDown and lays on that damn cart. Please, for the love of all that is holy, give him something. Like, I thought whenever Sami Zayn started talking to him and confiding in him, and he started making like eye motions and he flicking the bottle off the Dago cart and stuff like that, I thought right there, okay, Sami Zayn is about to bring back Johnny Wrestling. I thought CM Punk was doing it. CM Punk was talking to him. I thought CM Punk was going to bring him out of it, but nothing is working. I just want something. That's all I'm asking. Something.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't I didn't want to interrupt the conversation or anything. If you do see me looking down, it's not that I'm not paying attention. I got 2 screens up because I have to monitor the sound and make sure everything is even. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes, like during the whole interview, it might be an echo. So I gotta try to make sure there's no echoes and everything. But I am listening. And I will tap in, but sometimes I gotta look down just to look at the screen and make sure everything is good. So just to let you know.
Hey, multitasking is a trait that not everybody has. Since we've been on this, I have actually edited 2 reels on my phone from the Owens Punk main event point. So you don't have to apologize whatsoever.
Okay.
Content creator to content creator, I know the drill. So
okay.
don't worry about it.
Yeah, so I'm like, while y'all talking, I'm like doing that, you know what I mean, trying to make sure everything is good, you know what I mean? So I'm paying attention. So
Give us we already know one of them. He said Chris Jericho on plenty of occasions. So we know one of the 4. Give us the next 3 on your Mount Rushmore.
I'm going to CM Punk you right now, and I'm going to give you the 6 grandfathers. Have you heard him in interviews when people ask him what his Mount Rushmore is? Mm-hmm. And he's like, my cynical liberal ass is going to tell you that before we carved our president's faces into that mountain, it was called the 6 grandfathers of something. So I'm going to give you my top 6. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you Chris Jericho, the Ayatollah of rock and rolla. I'm going to give you the Texas Rattlesnake, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Okay. I'm going to give you the best in the world, the master of the pipe bomb, CM Punk. The first ever Monday Night Raw I ever watched as a kid was the pipe bomb. So my introduction to pro wrestling at 10 years old was a little bit special now that I look back at it. And then 2 weeks later, I was fortunate enough to attend my first ever Monday Night Raw sitting ringside in Boston, Massachusetts, watching CM Punk berate Vince McMahon in the ring during a contract negotiation before Money in the Bank. CM Punk's telling Vince McMahon, you'll smile at me, or I'll kick you in the nuts and you'll smile at me and like it and show me some respect. I was ballistic as a 10-year-old kid. I'm like, I'm going to kick you in the balls. And my dad's like, all right, keep it here. Don't say it at home. So I'm going Jericho, Austin, Punk, the master of creativity, the eater of worlds, the Fiend, the Firefly Funhouse host, Bray Wyatt. Wyndham Rotunda was an F5 tornado of creative ideas in the world of wrestling. That whole Firefly Funhouse Fiend gimmick that he had, no one will ever... Who would have ever thought of that? And you can't ever replicate that. Like, that is a one-of-one wrestling gimmick. Mr. Rogers turned into an absolute monster. I could talk for hours about Bray Wyatt. I just love explaining to non-wrestling fans of who Bray Wyatt was, and just the level of horror creativeness that he had in his brain is unmatched. So Jericho, Punk, Austin, Wyatt, the rated R superstar, Edge, Adam Copeland. I I grew up a huge rock and roll fan. If you can't tell with my Foo Fighters hat, my 90s dad grunge era. I love rock and roll. He loves all of that and talks about it often. He's a guy who's over 50 years old now, and he's in the best shape of his life. He was told that he was never going to wrestle again, and after 10 years is the most shocking surprise I think we've ever seen in a Royal Rumble match. I remember my legs were kicked up on my dorm room, like in my dorm room conference room, eating Chinese food, and You Think You Know Me hits, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, I know Kobe Bryant just died today, but this is a big moment in wrestling, watching Edge return to wrestling. I have deep respect for his creative process, too. I love listening and watching Adam Copeland. So it's Chris Jericho, Stone Cold Steve Austin, CM Punk, Bray Wyatt, Edge. Who can I put at 6? I know who my default would be, because I'm just so, as someone who just loves what they do, I know Paul Triple H Levesque loves what he does. I'm going to go with him as 6. Triple H went to school with Killer Kowalski, which I guess is just like the most intimidating, most brutal wrestling trainer that you could ever, like, you hear horror stories of people that trained with him. He went through that school, became a bodybuilder, came from a middle-class family in Greenwich, Connecticut, finds his way into the WWF, tells Vince McMahon, if you ever need an ear to lean on with creative ideas, I'm here. And Vince took him seriously, invited him to creative meetings. Triple H becomes the top heel in WWE, forms the top faction in D-Generation X. Was the first guy, in all seriousness, him, Shawn Michaels, Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash, to break kayfabe when they did the click thing after the steel cage match at a live event. Got him in trouble. If it wasn't for Triple H doing that and getting suspended, we would have never had Stone Cold Steve Austin win the King of the Ring and start the whole Stone Cold Steve Austin era. Triple H, a lot of people give him flack because he married the boss's daughter, and that's how everybody thinks he got his opportunities. I think Paul Levesque would be pretty damn near close to where he is today if he had never married Stephanie McMahon. But he did marry Stephanie McMahon, and that's pretty cool in its own right, to say that you got to work for your dream company, and now you get to call your boss of that dream company your father-in-law because he married his daughter. What a badass move. Come on. For people that think that that's like a negative, that's ridiculous. He's on God mode. He's on God level for doing something like that. He was a main eventer, and then he married the boss's daughter. And then what does he do next? He becomes an executive. He becomes head of creative. He's the chief content officer. He's told WrestleMania main event level stories for decades. The only thing about his career that wasn't storybook was the way that his in-ring career ended. His life was on the 1-yard line, and God had greater plans for Paul Levesque. He kept him alive in 2022. We're all thankful for that. His family's thankful for that. His daughter, his youngest daughter, just sang America the Beautiful at SummerSlam in front of 50,000 people at US Bank Stadium. That is a blessed man right there. And he's someone who I feel like has evolved over the years, too. The fact that he was able to bury the hatchet with a Phil Brooks, a guy that him and Phil Brooks just had so much friction, so much animosity. And the fact that they're in the relationship that they're in now, it's awesome to see. It's so awesome to see how he is someone that has evolved over the years. Even the way, like, and this might just be me, like, if you're a wrestling fan and you don't have a physique like most wrestlers, it's kind of discouraging and intimidating, especially if you like I work out, but I don't look like that, you know? Triple H had the ultimate bodybuilder physique, but now you could tell he doesn't work out anymore. He's fully invested in the creative of his business, that he's kind of let his body go. And that's how a normal 58-year-old man should look like. So the fact that he's gone from like this, like everybody has an ego on some level, but the fact that he went from, I need perfect 6-pack abs, I need a perfect 250-pound frame, to what he looks like now, and he doesn't care, and he's just a humble husband and father and leader of a business that he probably never thought he'd be the head of in his entire life, is pretty remarkable. So Chris Jericho, Stone Cold Steve Austin, CM Punk, Bray Wyatt, Edge, Triple H. Those are my 6 grandfathers. Don't make me cut it down to 4. I have no idea what my Mount Rushmore would be. There's just so many people that I love in the world of pro wrestling.
You know what's crazy? You named all that stuff with Triple H. And you know the one thing that I feel like really put him over the top was the fact that he helped, between him and Dusty, start a smaller promotion that was able to bring what they call indie wrestlers into the WWE realm in NXT. That was him and Dusty Rhodes' brainchild, was NXT. Now it's taken off to now we're seeing some of the disciples of that. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, perennial Hall of Famers right there. And you still got Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Finn Balor. I mean, I know we haven't seen him, but Andrade. Where would Andrade be right now if it wasn't for NXT? Aleister Black. You know, like so many superstars that we see all over the world now. A lot of them got their start at NXT. It's crazy. And that's thanks to Triple H and Dusty.
Who would have ever thought Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and The Undertaker, Mark Calloway, would be booking daily WWE affiliated shows on a full-time basis? What a world we live in. What a world we live in.
You know, I noticed that you left off some of people's favorites. Let's start with Dwayne. You left off Dwayne.
Dwayne Johnson, to me, I've never met him. I don't know if I'll ever have the privilege of meeting Dwayne Johnson. He seems like the person that he is on screen, like the person that you see in interviews on Entertainment News, the person that you see backstage WWE. He just seems like a stand-up dude. I've heard nothing but great things about Dwayne Johnson. Does he have an ego? 1,000%. You don't get to that level and have that much power without having ego. It's there. But he seems like a very grateful human being. I really like he'll come at you and be like, "Oh, that's Mana, brother, blah blah blah. Let's go have a shot of Terramana tequila," and like always plugging his stuff, of course. But Dwayne Johnson seems like an upstanding human being that's helped a lot of guys. I know Seth Rollins recently said on Julian Edelman's show that he gave him like way too much ice cream that they knew what to do with after Seth Rollins was the MVP of WrestleMania 40 and that whole run that The Rock inserted himself in. He gave him like 2 fridges worth of ice cream. So I got nothing but good things to say about The Rock. He's done so much good things for the pro wrestling business and transcended wrestling by being arguably the world's biggest entertainer in the cinema world. So I think he's in most people's Mount Rushmores. I went with my personal favorites that I resonated with. It's hard for me to relate to the world's biggest entertainer who's made billions of dollars and has had hundreds of box office movies. He's a hard guy to relate to, but I respect Dwayne Johnson for sure.
I'm going to give you another one. You named a couple of Canadians in Edge and Chris Jericho, but I noticed that you left off the excellence of execution, Bret Hart.
So here's my thing about Bret Hart. I didn't grow up in that era. I rarely look back at Bret Hart matches in that era. I've seen his SummerSlam match with British Bulldog. I saw his WrestleMania matches with Stone Cold and Owen. Bret Hart is a great in-ring technical wrestler. I don't think he was the greatest storyteller. I don't look at Bret Hart and think that guy is a top 3 professional wrestler / sports entertainer of all time. Because I am more of a sports entertainment guy. Like I said, I love the stories. If you could captivate me on a microphone like CM Punk can, like Roman Reigns can with the bloodline stuff, like Seth Rollins can, like John Cena could, like all these guys, then you hook me. Wrestling alone, like just an in-ring master at your craft, like that alone, I'm impressed by. It's impressive. It's hard to do. The things that the spawn of Stu Hart, man. 11 kids. You had Owen, you had Brett. Yeah, like it's crazy what that family's been able to do. He's never been one of my favorites. And he also doesn't seem like he's an approachable guy. He seems very bitter. He seems very angry with a lot of people in the business. I just watched the Hulk Hogan documentary. He shits on Terry Bollea the entire time. And maybe he had the right to. Is Brock Lesnar calling you? To this day, that guitar riff is the most intimidating music of all time. I think to me, for those reasons, I don't look at Bret Hart as like one of my favorites. He doesn't seem that approachable. He doesn't seem like the type of guy that you want to have a beer with. And I just didn't think he was the best entertainer from a storytelling perspective.
That's crazy. That's crazy because, like, for me,
Hey, real quick. Yes, you're correct. That guitar riff, it makes my heart jump every time I hear it. But I do have to cut my side of it short. That was work calling. That is my ringtone for my work phone. My son actually picked it out. But I appreciate you. I'll have to shoot you an email or something when after this is over with. But I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you answering some of our questions and being transparent with us about everything. You are more than welcome at any point in time to come on the show. You just let us know when you're free, and we can come on and we can do this again.
Hey, we got a full 2 hours in. We didn't cut anything short. I feel like we squeezed all the juice out that we could have gotten. And now you get to go to work. You know?
Yeah, get to make some money. But yeah, I'm gonna get going, guys. I appreciate you, Jack, and I'll shoot you an email soon.
It was great meeting you.
You too.
yeah, getting back to what you said about Bret Hart, like for me, the Hitman, I felt from a storytelling perspective, he was pretty good. I do feel that his wrestling told the stories more than anything. His wrestling alone. The match he had with Stone Cold Steve Austin, phenomenal. Then the match that he had with Shawn Michaels, even leading up to the Montreal Screwjob, I felt was, you know what I mean, top tier as far as like, you know, the story and whatever, which it turned out to be real, you know what I mean, at the end. Imagine having Unreal at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you kind of saw it in the Vince documentary. You kind of saw it of like, this is what we're going to do, and he's not going to like it. And you got to see him spit in Vince's face. You got to see him walk backstage. You kind of got a glimpse into it, kind of a documentary style. But of course, it was 20 years after the fact, or maybe even longer than that. But in real time, yeah, that would have been fun to see. It just wasn't my era, though. Maybe if I grew up in Bret Hart's era, I would have appreciated him a lot more. But the fact that, like, storytelling has evolved in pro wrestling since his time, it's hard for me to get into a match with him when I could listen to CM Punk talk for an hour on a microphone, right? Like, I'm far more entertained by that than I am by, like, someone who's, like, an expert wrestler at their craft of pro wrestling.
Yeah, I when you say it like that, I hear you. What do you? I don't know if you. Well, I'm not even going to say. Have you heard of him? I'm about to pull him up right now. I'm looking for him right now. What do you think of Terry Hart?
Good wrestler. Again, really good wrestler. Probably haven't seen too much of him.
Yeah, Teddy Hart. My bad.
I've probably seen
Teddy Hart. It's Teddy Hart. My bad.
I've probably watched more of Bret and Owen more than anybody else in that family. Mm-hmm. They're all great in their own right. I think Bret was probably the best at marketing himself, obviously, as the Hitman. Owen obviously got cheated out of a lot of opportunities, in my opinion, after Bret left for WCW. Mm-hmm. For any Vince is like, oh, we never screwed Owen. It's like, you kind of did ruin his career. Like, you can't really say that you tried to make him a superstar. But yeah, I didn't really watch too much of the rest of the family. I'm sure I'd have to go back and look, but Teddy, I feel like, is probably up there. Jim Neihart, I always enjoyed watching him and his tag team runs. British Bulldog, David Hart, like everybody a part of that whole family, I would say, is just incredible. I mean, incredible physical talents.
What for the last question, what did you think of Brian Pillman when he was with the Hearts for that short stint? What did you think of him?
I loved Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman to me, yeah, Brian Pillman to me was such an underrated guy who they probably didn't squeeze everything out of him that they could have. His son too is kind of just like an enigma when it comes to personality, as we've seen in NXT and as we saw a little bit on the Indies as well. I thought that was a match made in heaven. Like you talked about the New Day and Swerve Strickland possibly teaming up a little bit earlier. Like Pillman and the Hearts were kind of like a match made in heaven. They just worked well together. I love it when it's like on paper you're kind of like, I don't know if that's gonna work, and then it turns out to be like Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens in a 10-month long story as best friends on TV. Like it's like I love things that work out when they don't necessarily feel like they might. Sheamus and Cesaro, we never thought they'd be as great of a tag team as they were. They weren't even they weren't even tag team wrestlers. They weren't even tag team wrestlers. So when Pillman got together with the Hearts, I was just kind of like, yeah, those personalities don't really mesh. But they did.
They definitely
They did.
They definitely did. They definitely did. That pairing, the bar pairing, I was just like, nah, this is not going to work. And the next thing you know, it did. And it lasted for a very, 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 very long time. So I'm like, wow, okay, well, proved us wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
They were the bar.
Yeah.
They were the bar.
Yeah. I would like to thank you for coming on our show and, just giving your insight, your perspective from content creating, from sports journalism, from every facet that you have touched thus far in this content creating. It's been great. The interview's been awesome. We definitely would love to have you back on the show again, and to drop some more insight, to drop a few gems. Last question: if you had anything to tell any content creator on planet Earth, what would be the best advice you could give them besides what you have already said tonight?
Invest in the best equipment that you can possibly invest in with the financial situation that you're in.
Right.
If I can give you any like logical technical advice based on what, obviously be yourself, create your own voice, stick at it for years on end, and be consistent and disciplined. Obviously all of those things. But from a technical speaking standpoint, invest in a solid camera, invest in a solid microphone, invest in solid audio. Nothing will turn off a viewer more than, bad audio in the first 2 seconds. And it's like, I'm not going to listen to this, or bad video. Know how to make clips, get very fascinated with making reels and telling stories through the videos that you're editing, because you want people's eyes to move all the time. You want to keep them interested, and you want them to be invested in the story that you are talking about. So know how to tell a story, just like how wrestlers got to tell stories in that ring. Learn how to tell a story with your editing. And like I said, if I were to give you advice on what to buy like a Blackmagic or a Canon or a Nikon camera, SM7B microphone. They call them the Joe Rogan microphones. Great audio mixers, a Blackmagic Atom mini switcher. Goes a long way. You could set up, if you ever wanted to do interviews wherever, you'd set up 2 cameras, connect them to your mini switcher, have 2 microphones. You have a professional interview like Chris Van Vliet. It's that simple. So invest in good equipment. You will not be sorry. You're gonna have to invest a few $1,000 for good equipment, but it is worth it if you're going to use it all the time. You're going to make your money back in tenfold.
Everything you're saying, that's exactly what I've done. I got like 3 audio interfaces. I could even pull them out. I got the one audio interface which I use to record my music. I got the other audio interface which I use for the podcasting. I got an extra audio interface just in case. And the funny thing about that is that I didn't even ask for the extra audio interface. It was given to me as a gift for my podcasting journey. Like, I'm looking at it right here. Like, right here. Right here. Right here. Right here. Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's it.
So, it's like, you know, investment is important. I also would say, too, invest in trademarking. Trademarking your name. Invest in an LLC, which I've done that. And you know what I mean? And I think those things are important because you're protecting your brand. You know, and like if you're serious about the content creating, that I think is the main thing. Because not for nothing, you know what I mean, it won't be the best quality, but you could easily start content creating with a phone. You know what I mean? It won't be the best depending on the type of phone you got, but you can easily start with that. But I feel like one of the more important things is the trademarking and the branding, because once you brand that name itself, then, you know, like, you good to go. Everything else is pretty much, you know what I mean, easy. You know.
Yep.
Yeah, but we definitely appreciate you for tapping in with us. Do you have anything coming up that you would like, you know, to tell the fans and everything like that, you know?
We got I'll plug the business I'm a head producer for. Celebrity Poker Tour, September 4th. From the Aria in Las Vegas. You could stream it on Kick. You could stream it on Twitch, YouTube as well. We got some pretty big names. We got James Hetfield from Metallica. We got Caitlyn Jenner. We got Brandon Jenner. We got India Love, who's a streamer. We got Tana Mojo, Bryce Hall, all of these different creators, musicians, superstars, influencers. Like, we have all of these people on a poker felt talking crap with one another. It's like the Savannah Bananas of poker. Tune in for that. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe on our channel at O'Hara and Friends, at Jack O'Hara TV on YouTube. We put up daily wrestling long-form content as well as shorts. Plug into the community, man. I would encourage anybody that has strong wrestling opinions to tap in. I'm open to collaborating with anybody, and I'm open to engaging with anybody that engages with me. You know, if you're going to pour into me, I will pour back into you tenfold.
Quick question, right? Quick question. You said you produced the poker tournament and whatnot, right? Are you familiar with a battle rapper by the name of Thesaurus?
I think so. I think his name has come across our table of people that we've reached out to.
Okay, cause I know from obviously from the hip hop world, he's a battle rapper, rap artist or whatever. But I know I've heard him in recent interviews and in like his battles, he's always mentioned poker, that he's an avid poker player and stuff like that. So I say, yo, let me just ask Jack real quick to see if he. But yeah,
he might have played a couple of times for all I know. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm like I said, I'm kind of a rocker guy. I'm excited that James Hetfield's coming, but he may, like, if I go back and check our roster, he may have played a couple of times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just felt like asking. So we always end off our interviews by asking this particular question. If you could see anybody on the Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle podcast, who would it be? But here's the kicker. You have to help us get them on the show.
Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. We're big Karrion Kross people here in Las Vegas. Karrion's always been a supporter of our content. He's very kind and very gracious with the professional wrestling fan base. I think you guys would have a fun time with Karrion Kross.
Is it possible that you might have any information? Maybe you could throw it at us, and then we could reach out to him, or you reach out.
So he's very accessible in the DMs. I will say that.
Okay.
I could always ask him if, I don't know how too keen he is about giving out his phone number, but he's very easily accessible in the DMs if you reached out. That's how we initially got in contact with him.
Okay, cool. Take that note. Definitely would do that. 'Cause we big Karrion Kross fans. We have spoke highly of Karrion Kross on multiple videos. Like, we've petitioned for this guy plenty of times. Like, we've gotten arguments in the comment section about Karrion Kross just for how he was portrayed in the WWE, and now what he's doing phenomenally in MLW. So
Yep.
That would be dope. Yeah. Well, with that being said, that was our interview for this evening. You see the man right there, Jack O'Hara TV. We appreciate you for being on the show with us. We are blessed to have you, and we cannot wait to see you again and what adventures that you might be able to speak to us on. And with that being said, this is Bars Wrestling Media, and this is Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle Podcast. Salute. See you next time.
And that wraps up another explosive edition of the podcast. Join us next week as the road to the championship continues.
Yo, Robert Mason here, and the fire in this arena is unreal.
And I'm Molly Finwick. We are the Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle commentary team, bringing nonstop action.
This is the Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle Podcast, your home for real pro wrestling talk.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, we the champs. Thanks for listening. We gone.